I'm Mary Obana. I help people get unstuck. We are all meant to have full joy, pure love, complete fulfillment, and peace. You know what else? Each of us has a light, a unique gift that we are to find and share with the world. It's why we're here. It's who we're meant to be. But sometimes we can get stuck. Join me as I work with Spirit to help people from all walks of life receive the messages they need to hear so they can understand what's standing in the way of all the joy, fulfillment, love, and peace they are meant to have so they can get on with a life they're meant to live so they can shine. Real people, real stories, starting now.
It was as if reading the book Shine brought me to the door, and then having my reading with you where I met my guide, that the door flew open, and through that door, my journey really began.
Hello there and welcome. I'm so glad you are joining me today because this episode is about something we can all relate to, carrying extra weight. This is the story of a woman who discovers what the weight is and why it is, and how looking within and allowing for the first time is changing her life. Welcome, Cristina Curreri. Hi, Cristina.
Hi, Mary.
How are you today?
I am great. I'm glad to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm really excited to have you on today. I think that your story is one that I think will resonate so strongly with so many of our listeners. And I'm really, really delighted that you're able to share yourself with everyone. I really appreciate it.
I'm so happy to do it.
So, Cristina, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am a almost 50 divorced mom of two wonderful teenage girls that keep me really busy. I'm a first generation daughter of a Neapolitan mom born in Naples, Italy, and a Sicilian father. So my parents like to joke that I was 200% Italian.
I love that.
And honestly, food has always been a very big part of our lives. I remember as a young girl making gnocchi with my grandparents in Staten Island, sitting on the kitchen floor and trying to reach my hands up to the kitchen counter, watching them cook and smelling all the wonderful foods coming out of the kitchen. It was really just a wonderful memory that I have. And that's always been the centerpiece of our gatherings and our table. What we eat together has brought me, a lot of joy. Today I work in the yoga industry. I've spent many years in the fitness industry in general and in customer service and hospitality. Something that I really enjoy is, bringing everyone to the table and making them feel good. And food has always been a big part of that.
Gotcha. And so tell me too, because I think that, your relationship with food and this whole journey that you've been on has really been very much, I kind of have seen intertwined with a spiritual unfolding as well. Tell us a little bit about just kind of how this has all come about.
Yeah, no doubt. So, as I just mentioned, food was always a big part of my life in a very positive way growing up and really even through college and into my 20s. I started practicing yoga in college. So I was always sort of very curious about spirituality and what we're all here for. And early on, I felt like I knew. In my 20s, I was very career driven. Even through college, I always thought I was going to be the next Jane Pauley. I wanted to be on, I wanted to be on the news, and I wanted to write stories, and I really expressed myself through writing. At one point, even moving to California and finding, an opportunity that I thought was going to be my lifelong career. When I lived in Boston, written a screenplay for a television comedy based on a boutique on Newberry Street. Fashionably Late was the name of the show. And I brought it with me to LA, and I was going to pitch it, and that was going to be my career. Or so I thought.
And then what happened?
Well, what happened? That's where it all kind of begins, I guess, this really deep dive into my spiritual journey. So, I came back from LA just to sort of pack my last few things up. So while I was home and in the process of packing things up and saying goodbye to my friends, I went to see some friends in Connecticut, where I went to high school, and ran into my high school sweetheart. I told him I was leaving for LA, and he thought that was great, but tried to convince me to stay. But I still left, and I still went back out. But once I got there, I felt like, maybe this isn't the path that I'm supposed to take. My other dream is to be a wife and a mom. And so I felt like, I needed to give this a try. So very quickly, I gathered my things, and instead of making the California move permanent, I made a permanent move to Connecticut. And 3 months later, we were engaged.
That's a big shift. Wow.
It is. And it all happened so quickly. I was there in September, and then by December we were engaged, and started to plan the wedding, all while I was trying to find a job and trying to figure out where I was going to work and what I was going to do, because now I needed to have a different career. Right.
Right.
So, I was very fortunate. I got a great job. So it was like a dining club, they called it, or a city club, where people would meet and have meetings and that sort of thing. So I would come in, and they had basically a chef at my disposal. If I got in early enough, they would make breakfast for us. We could have anything we wanted for lunch. If it was, if we wanted to have a big stuffed lobster for lunch, we could do that. And then, it was a very social group as well. So we would end up gathering in the evenings as well. So that's sort of where things started with I don't want to call it an addiction to food, but it's where I started using food for a different reason. When I was a child, food meant, let's all get together and be a family. This was very different. This was an escape.
What was it? Oh, it was an escape. I see.
It was an escape. Yeah, it was definitely an escape.
So you had doubts.
I had doubts. I definitely had doubts. I think what I had more of, though, Mary, was fear. Fear of letting people down, and not, not honoring the commitment that I had agreed to. So,
okay. So let me just, so you basically had doubts in your mind about your relationship with your fiance, but because of your commitment in general, you weren't going to turn away from it.
Yeah, it wasn't an option for me.
Yeah.
At that time, I felt like I had a lot of pride coupled with that fear. And I just was like, okay, we're going to figure out a way to make this work.
But deep down inside, you questioned whether this was the right thing to do.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. I just, it wasn't that, when you know it feeling
right.
that so many people say that they have. I know that I loved him, and I wanted it to work, but there were just those doubts. It just felt like I was on the train. The train was on the track. It had left the station, and we were going someplace. And
right.
Where we were going was this wedding on Labor Day weekend.
Gotcha. And so that's really where and why the escape with food, because you were escaping from the reality and knowing that this wasn't the right thing. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. So you fast forward, and then what happens?
So over the years, I just saw myself transitioning. I would gain weight, and then I'd lose weight, and then I'd gain weight and I'd lose weight. And I'd try so many different things. And we had fertility issues. I had trouble getting pregnant. So that was a challenge as well, and caused some of my weight gain as well. But it was really just eating to make me feel good. That led me down this path. And the times where I felt like I was successful with my weight loss, I was always doing it for some other reason. Like when my brother got married, I wanted to lose weight, or when, when I had a high school reunion, I wanted to lose weight. It was always for someone else and not for me.
Yeah. And were you successful in that?
Yeah. I mean, I rode that roller coaster for years,
Yeah.
for years,
Right.
trying everything, I was up, I was down, I was up, I was down. And it was just, having worked in the fitness industry for so many years, I knew what the right things to do were, and I knew what the right things to eat were, but it wasn't, nothing ever really stuck.
Right.
And again, I attribute that to the fact that it was always for some other exterior reason.
Right.
And not something within.
Right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and spiritually, how does this coincide with your journey? So you had this kind of battle going on, it sounds like, with escaping and using food to comfort you. And then I know you've always been a very active kind of seeker of spirituality. So tell me how that kind of intertwined and how that also paralleled all of this, or did it trigger because something happened and then you kind of started to get into that spiritual journey? Help me understand that.
Yeah, I think it was when I realized that my marriage was probably going to end, that I dialed up the seeking and the gathering of information. I need to figure out what my life is going to be like and how I'm going to do this if this marriage ends. I just knew that I was extremely unhappy, that we were great parents, but not great in a relationship, complete opposites. And I just didn't see it working for a lifetime, sadly, anymore. I needed guidance then. I really, really needed the guidance then. So I would read books and I would talk to friends, and I did some talk therapy, and I would just try to meditate, and all to just keep my head above water.
Right.
And
Make sense of it all.
Drown. Yeah, make sense of it all and not drown in the sadness that I had found myself in.
So then you basically emerged into then this kind of new phase of your life. Is that what happened after your divorce was finalized? And
once the divorce was finalized, which is going on almost 7 years ago now, it sometimes feels really fresh. But it's been a while. I knew that I needed to figure out a way to show my girls that this was the right decision. And that was the hardest part for me, Mary. I struggled for years with whether or not the right decision was to show my girls that your happiness is more important than anything.
Yeah.
Or, should you honor a commitment? And it was a tough decision, but, I needed to have something there to make me feel better about what I was about to do. I knew that this was going to be heartbreaking for them. But I just sought out anyone or anything that could make me feel like I was making the right decision. And spirituality was absolutely a huge, huge part of that. I wanted to honor me and try to reinvent me and figure out what the new me was going to look like. But it was really important for me to protect the girls and make sure that they felt all the love in the world,
Sure, of course.
And, I wanted to kind of go overboard, and I did go overboard just with things that we would do together, and we would take trips to New York and go to the theater. And, it just became this goal of mine to make their happiness the most important thing, since I somewhat selfishly chose to make my happiness important to me. Mm-hmm. And it was tough. It was a really, really challenging inner struggle that I had for so many years. so the divorce was finalized, and I had made this decision that I was going to stay single until I turned 50. And then once the girls were thinking about college or maybe off to college, I would think about meeting someone. And that's, of course, when you least expect it, right? I met an amazing guy, and we've been together now for over 5 years, and it's been really wonderful. But he's sort of the one that helped me see that I could do anything. So it helped. Yeah. And it really did. He's been a huge support for me, for my family, for the girls. And that's what led me to start to shift gears a bit and put myself first. He's always saying, I want you to do things that make you feel good. I want you to take care of yourself. I want to help you do that in the most loving way. It's just, he's a great cook, and he's always cooking for me these amazing foods that are so healthy. And so it's a very different relationship with him. And also it shifted my relationship with food through my relationship with him. My vision of myself has really changed. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then what happened this year? Because this year was a lot for you, right?
Yeah. So this was a massive year of transition for me.
Yep.
So at the beginning of this year, just starting a new job, I was getting my feet wet, really enjoying it. So excited to be in the yoga business because it did combine a couple of my wonderful passions that I have. But let me just rewind just a tiny bit. Back in February, I was really, really honored and excited that you shared an advance copy of Shine with me.
I did.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're one of the few people that read it. Yeah, you read it was just the Peter section, right?
It was just the Peter section.
Right.
So I just remember thinking, wow, there is another way. There's another way. And this is just the beginning of helping me find it. So was excited to, read that advanced copy. I remember rereading it and then recording me reading it so I could listen to it on my walks. And I know you've got the audio version coming out soon, which is so great. So yeah, I mean, I just tried to devour it. To use a food analogy, I devoured Shine. And it really wasn't.
What was it that you took away from it?
I felt like what he was saying made sense to me and felt familiar. It felt like I was talking to a great uncle who was saying, listen, you're going to find ways to find yourself, to really find me. And then I got the complete book, and it really just all started to come together for me at that point. Reread, obviously, the Peter section, and it was the afterword that hit me really emotionally, Mary. It was reading the words that Peter talks about. And I'm just flipping to the page here where he says, our purpose for this earthly experience is to remember the love within each of you. You see, God has placed love in many forms. In one, that love is expressed through musical talent. In another, that love is expressed in athletic ability. In another, it is a deep empathy for those in need. That just hit me. I said, that's what I was doing. And I need to remember who I was in my 20s before all of this happened and figure out where to go from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Return. Because that specialness within you is always, you come here with that, right? So it is always a part of you, but the remembering and the recognizing and the appreciating of what that is part of the whole reason we're here. Exactly.
So I read the book, and as COVID started, I had some downtime. I know I'd shared with you over the years that writing was something that was really important to me. It was something that I loved to do. So I said, I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm going to write something. I don't know what that something is, but I'm going to write something. So I started writing, and I didn't know where it was going to go. And then I had my reading with you, and it all started to make sense at that point. It was as if reading the book Shine, brought me to the door, and then having my reading with you where I met my guide that the door flew open, and through that door, my journey really began.
Oh, and tell me what it is that you took away from you're connecting to your
Yeah.
guide and that reading. What was it that so resonated with you that really kind of clicked?
Yeah. So, um, I just listened to it again recently, and the recurring themes that kept coming up over and over again in the initial part of the reading were these walls that I had up, and this fear that I had, and this responsibility to others that is so inbred in me. Um, but what my guide, it's okay if I share his name?
Sure, of course, your guide.
So it's my guide, Jesse, that came to us during that reading, told me that I must focus within. And if I don't focus within, I will be without. That's where it clicked. It was almost as if a light switch went off and said, okay, I've got to go within. He shared that there's a lightness within me that's waiting for me. And there's no irony that that's what my writing was really about, was all the weight that has been not only on my body, but really on my mind, my heart, and my soul over the past nearly 20 years now, is what I was writing about. That's really where this all came from. I had felt like I was for so many years just in this maze that I couldn't get out of, and contained in this box that I just couldn't escape from. And I was so focused on the walls and not on how to get out. It wasn't focused on me, So that really changed everything for me. That door flew open, and I've described it to friends, where it felt like the door was open and I was on the yellow brick road. And I found that I not only had the knowledge, but I had the heart and I had the courage to do this and get to where I needed to go. And that's kind of where I am today.
We always have everything we need to do the work we're to do, right? To be who we're supposed to be. And all of that resides within us already. And it's just about allowing it, right? Allowing it to unfold. And it sounds like that's a lot of what's happening with you. It's not this, it's this thing within you that is now pouring out, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's no coincidence that, I started practicing TM in February as well. In fact, I was trained on the 29th of February. And that just helped me go within even more. I needed that tool. I needed your reading. I needed the book, in order to get to where I am today. And I need Jesse every single day. I've always looked for guidance. I've had different readings done, and I've pulled cards for myself and tried to find guidance in different ways, and listen for what I needed to hear. But being more of a visual person, sometimes it comes to me, in different ways, where I'll see the number 22, or that'll tell me that I'm on the right path. Or there will be times where I call out for Jesse, and I'm like, I'm struggling with this thing, and I'll turn on the radio, and like Jesse's Girl will be on from Rick
Oh my
Springfield.
gosh.
It's just so funny, and it comes to me very differently. It's not, he's not giving me messages like Peter's giving you messages.
Right.
I am asking for guidance that I'm on the right track, and he's showing it to me in other ways, which is just,
that's so
it's so amazing.
It is so beautiful. And there are a couple of things to that. One is that you are noticing, right? Because so many of these messages, I mean, I always say that our guides are always trying to communicate with us, but you can be looking for a form. I'm listening for words, and there are all these visual signs that are coming to you that you're not noticing, so the fact that you're tuned into that is so beautiful, because now you're connected to that guidance, right? In a really special way. I remember too, you also being introduced to your guide. I think that also created I think that was important for you, knowing that this guy, my guide's name is Jesse. That I think also seemed to be, I remember you saying that was very helpful.
For sure, because I would sit there and meditate and try to go within, but it's reassuring to know who you're looking for and who is guiding you.
Yeah.
And I love that I know who he is now.
That's great. That's so great. I love that. Okay, so then this revelation, right? This door flies
Yes,
open. And
door
so
flies open.
yes, and this understanding now that this weight that you've been battling is one of really weight on your heart and your soul. And so with that understanding, tell me what then has unfolded for you.
Yeah. So, again, just in the spirit of, trying to gather information and learn more, I have done everything in my power to just now allow, and things are just kind of falling into my lap. And it started around my birthday this year in June, where I always pick a card for myself on my birthday, and this year I picked Ganesha, which is the god of new beginnings and remover of obstacles. So
take down those walls.
Take down those walls. So on that day, I decided I'm going to go on this journey. I'm going to make a commitment to it. I'm going to share it with the world, which is a very vulnerable place to be, but I'm proud of the work that I've done so far, even in these first couple of months, where I'm vowing to lose 50 pounds by the time I turn 50. So in a year, which, might sound like a lot of weight to some people, and it is, but it's, about a pound a week is a healthy way to do it. And it would put me right smack dab in my healthy weight zone. So weight range, I should say.
Wow.
So,
that's amazing.
it's not unrealistic. And I really believe I can do it. And that now partnered with, the book that I'm writing, which is called Lifting the Weight: Heal Your Heart, Soothe Your Soul, and Transform Your Body, is all part of this. It's all this journey that I'm on, that I'm sharing with everybody, and recognizing in me the weight that I've put on my heart and my soul, and hopefully helping others see that that's what needs to be lifted from them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And the idea that, I think it's interesting that before you said that I was always tackling my weight because of external motivations.
Right.
And, this is now an intrinsic motivation, right?
All about
It's
me.
something completely within, which is the first time it sounds like you've really done it for this, right? For you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The first time in my life. There's no doubt. And I feel so supported. I feel like I have the guidance, that I never had before. I've got the support of my girls. I've got the support of my boyfriend. It's like everything is just falling into place now. And, now really is the time.
When you are on the right path, I think the universe has a way of smoothing that path, right? Making that, it's like, okay, it's like with this greasing the skids, it's like, when things are running smoothly, things are falling into place. It is, I think, a big nod saying, yep, this is exactly where you should be going. This is exactly where you should be going. And
Totally.
And knowing that you're not in it alone, that you've got support of your family, but you've got spiritual guidance and support as well,
Yeah.
that can help you in every step of the way. And I say this, I think probably every episode is this underlying theme of how our life experiences always seem to be connected
Oh, for
to
sure.
this person we are ultimately to emerge to be, right? And you think about all that you've been through and how all those things have positioned you so beautifully to share this journey of yours in a really unapologetic way. And I love that, both in the writing of this book, but if you could tell people too, I mean, you have this great Facebook group that you're able to, like, people literally able to walk this journey with you. So why don't you tell people about
They
that?
are. Yeah. So I've got a Facebook group. It's called Lifting the Weight with Cristina, and that's spelled without an H. So it's Cristina. And I'm just sharing the journey with anyone who wants to join me along for the ride. I'm sharing tools that I've picked up, things that I'm using to keep me on track, how I'm feeling on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I also think the thing I love about your posts is they're very honest. It's not all,
Mm.
it's all not all roses. You say, I've had a lousy day today, so you're
Yeah.
very
Oh,
honest
yeah.
about that. So I think that's such a beautiful thing. It's a
Oh,
very relatable, I think. And I imagine a lot of people will be able to take great benefit out of it. So I love that.
oh, good. Good.
I
I'm
love
glad.
that.
Yeah. I mean, this is my purpose. And had I not gone through what I've gone through, I wouldn't be here.
Oh, I think it's so great. I love it. And I'm so happy that Shine's been able to be a little bit of a part of helping you along the way, one of many things
Mm,
that have helped you along the way. And, I think, again, the message is everyone is always, all of us are meant to feel good. All of us are meant to
mm,
have full joy. All of us are meant to have fulfillment and peace. And a lot of that comes and is waiting for us within. It's all there, just requires allowing. And I think that's
definitely.
something that we see again and again and again. And it's amazing how we can put up these barriers and be focused on these external things that can make it difficult. But as I always say, that also makes it so exciting, because if we're putting up those barriers, it means we can take them down and step into all that allowing. And that's, I think, just such a beautiful, hopeful, encouraging message. Well, Cristina, I thank you so much for sharing your story and for inviting people to walk this journey with you. Cristina has lost 11 pounds in 2 months, so she is right on track. So definitely check her Facebook group, Lifting the Weight with Cristina, out, and look forward to having her back to share her progress. So anyways, thank you so much for joining this episode of the Shine Podcast. I hope you've learned something from today. And as always, be kind and shine. Take it easy.